A very good evening to all of you and welcome to the News at 6, where we get you the day's top developing stories and also the ones that are developing at this moment. I'm Tracy Shilshi and let's head straight to the headlines. Uproar in both houses of parliament on the interview of the Delhi gang rape convict inside Tihar jail for a BBC documentary. Home Minister assures ban on the film's telecast. Lok Sabha passes the Coal Mines Special Provisions Bill 2015 that aims at better transparency in issuing coal mine leases. Rajya Sabha must now clear the bill for it to replace the ordinance. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal offers to quit as Aam Aadmi Party convener ahead of the crucial meet of the office bearers that's underway. Future role of Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav expected to be decided. The RBI cuts repo rate by 25 basis points to 7.5%, keeping the CRR unchanged. Clamour grows for cut in bank interest rates for loans and lower EMIs. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu takes on the White House, warns against a nuclear deal with Iran. US President Barack Obama says the Israeli PM is not helping the situation. A foreign documentary interviewing one of the convicts in the 2012 Delhi gang rape case sparked outrage in the Rajya Sabha today. Home Minister Rajnath Singh said the government will not allow airing the documentary on Indian TV channels and assured a thorough probe to find out who allowed the shooting of the film inside Delhi's Tihar jail.
The foreign documentary on the Delhi gang rape case triggered uproar in the upper house on Wednesday. Members raised objections during a reference to International Women's Day, slamming the outlandish remarks by one of the convicts, Mukesh.
जो टीवी चैनल हैं, उन पर ये फिल्म नहीं दिखाई जानी चाहिए, नंबर 1. नंबर जो डीजी जेल है उस समय के और जो अधिकारी हैं उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई हो, इसका आश्वासन दिया जाना चाहिए.
आपको तुरंत कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए थी. 2 दिन से ये बात चर्चा में आ रही है. आप लोग विचार करेंगे, उसके बाद करेंगे. ये crocodile tears नहीं चाहिए औरतों को.
The chair also took strong exception to the interview and demanded government's explanation.
After committing a horrendous, heinous crime, he is justifying it. It is unbelievable. So I want the government to take action. How the interview came, take action and report to this house. And you are doing this.
All women members from opposition benches trooped into the well for allowing the convict to give an interview. They were joined by their male colleagues from the opposition parties, forcing the chair to adjourn the house for 15 minutes.
House is adjourned for 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
When the House reassembled, Home Minister Rajnath Singh sought to mollify the agitated members. He said the terms and conditions were violated by the documentary maker. The Home Minister said that a restraining order had been obtained against the telecast of the documentary on International Women's Day on Sunday, and a report has been sought from Tihar jail where the convict was interviewed.
The government has taken necessary legal action and obtained a restraining order from the court disseminating the contents of the film. Our government condemns the incident of 16 December 2012 in the strongest possible terms and will not allow any attempt by any individual, group or organization to leverage such unfortunate incidents for commercial benefits.
Some women MPs also staged a walkout as a mark of protest and urged the government to ensure speedy justice for the victim. However, there were voices in support to telecast the documentary.
But the reality is what the man spoke reflects the views of many men in India. And why are we shying away from that? In everything glorifying India and we are perfect, we are not confronting the issues which need to be really confronted.
We were very surprised in the last 2 days when this topic was the burning topic of the day as to how those people got permission. I am told that the permission was given as a study case, not to be used outside at all, not to get into the public arena, and to be used as an input for how to deal with such criminals. Be it as it may, that may have been the case. Then today the inquiry has to be made how it all got into the public arena.
जिन जेल के अधिकारियों ने
उनको ये परमिशन दी, तो जो भी इसमें अधिकारी लोग हैं, तो माननीय गृह मंत्री जी से मेरा ये कहना है कि आपको इसकी एक जांच बैठानी चाहिए।
The Home Minister also said that he has spoken to Information and Broadcasting Ministry and told them to explore ways to ensure that the documentary was not broadcast even abroad. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, this debate over telecast of the BBC documentary also rocked Lok Sabha today. Home Minister Rajnath Singh said he was also stunned as to how permission was granted for the convict's interview to take place inside the jail.
अध्यक्ष महोदया, जिस डॉक्यूमेंट्री को लेकर केवल यह सदन ही नहीं बल्कि सारा देश इस समय सचमुच अपने को शर्मिंदगी महसूस कर रहा है, उसके संबंध में इस सदन के भी सम्मानित सदस्यों ने भी अपनी चिंता व्यक्त की है और अपनी नाराजगी व्यक्त की है। मैं यह सदन को अवगत कराना चाहता हूं कि इस घटना के संबंध में ज्यों ही मुझे जानकारी मिली, इसी प्रकार की नाराजगी मेरे अंदर भी पैदा हुई थी और तुरंत संबंधित अधिकारियों को टेलीफोन मिलाकर मैंने इस संबंध में जानकारी हासिल की।
The Home Minister looking to calm strong opposition protests as members demanded action over the December 16, 2012 gang rape convict being allowed to give an interview from inside the high-security Tihar jail. Singh informed the House that the NOC to shoot the film was given by the Home Ministry in 2013 under the UPA government. However, restrictions laid down were flouted.
24 जुलाई 2013 को यह डॉक्यूमेंट्री इस डॉक्यूमेंट्री के लिए उस कन्विक्टेड जो इनमेट था, जो कन्विक्टेड जो अपराधी था, उसका इंटरव्यू लेने के लिए इजाजत दी गई। एक रेपिस्ट का इंटरव्यू लेने की इजाजत ये कैसे दी गई, किन परिस्थितियों में दी गई, ये सचमुच ये बहुत ही चौंकाने वाली घटना है हमारे।
Earlier during the 0 hour, several women members demanded a detailed inquiry and strong action against those responsible for lapses in adherence to norms.
Shame that statement made in the documentary you see in the newspaper. Madam, it is very shocking. It is very shameful for the whole Indian community. Very shameful. We should protest strongly. The whole House should protest against this.
We have to tackle this problem right from the grassroots, from where the mindset becomes such that you insult women, you do not understand that they give consent. The right to their bodies to give consent is theirs. It cannot be abrogated to somebody else. They need to be able to feel safe at all times.
Delhi Police has obtained a restraining order from the Delhi High Court prohibiting transmission of the interview till further orders. A probe is being carried out into restrictions and conditions not being followed.
मीडिया के प्रिंट मीडिया और इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया वाले हैं, सबको इसकी खबर देने की कि हमारी चेष्टा रहेगी। और उसके अलावा जहां पर ये इंटरनेट पे पड़ा है उसको ब्लॉक करवाने के लिए हम अब कार्रवाई करेंगे।
The hour-long documentary film is based on extensive interviews of the victims' parents, the convicts and their families. One of the jailed convicts blames the victim for the gang rape. The filmmakers plan to challenge the ban in court. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
Meanwhile, another business in the House, the Coal Mines Special Provisions Bill 2015 was today passed in Lok Sabha. The government claims that the bill will ensure transparency in the allocation of coal mines. It had brought in an ordinance for the auction of coal blocks, which will now be replaced by the bill. During the debate, though, the opposition criticized the government for using the ordinance route.
Coal Minister Piyush Goyal has said that coal-producing states will benefit from the bill passed in the lower house on Wednesday. He also claimed that the Narendra Modi-led government had brought in more transparency to the entire sector.
हमने मात्र 9 दिन में 14 से शुरू करके 22 तारीख तक 19 महीने 18 बिड द्वारा ऑक्शन की और मुझे खुशी है कि आज से नया दौर ऑक्शन का शुरू होने जा रहा है।
In his reply, the minister also touched upon several queries raised by opposition members. In particular, he clarified opposition apprehensions about reverse bidding and end users.
मैं बताना चाहूंगा कि एक-एक ब्लॉक टेक्निकल कमेटी जिसमें हर एक डिपार्टमेंट के लोग मेंबर्स हैं, उस टेक्निकल कमेटी द्वारा डिसाइड किया गया कैसे इसको किस पर्पस के लिए किया जाए। कोई भी ब्लॉक स्टील से पावर में नहीं ट्रांसफर किया।
During the debate on the bill, the opposition raised several questions regarding it. The Congress, TMC, CPIM and BJD raised the issues of time frame for disbursement of royalty, reverse bidding, end users and the duration of leases.
Consult with the concerned coal-bearing state when you are determining what will be in a regulated sector, what will be in a non-regulated sector. Personally, you may be interacting with the government, but this should be in the law, because in future, it is not that you will be continuing in this ministry, somebody else will come.
1993 onwards, there is a dilution. Now these national resources are being diverted towards the state. I have no problem in the states, because there are 5 states which have 90%, 99% of the coal reserves. What about the rest of the 25 states, sir? Our union is bound together by a very delicate promise that each state has made to each other. That's why the constitution makers did not provide national resources in the state list, sir.
The opposition moved several amendments to the bill, all of which were defeated. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal resigned as party convener earlier today, just hours before the crucial national executive meeting in Delhi. Party leaders have rejected it unanimously, but now all eyes are on the fate of Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav for questioning Kejriwal's style of functioning.
Just a month after resounding victory in Delhi, Aam Aadmi Party is at crossroads again. The national executive meeting in Delhi has turned into a firefight to douse the infights raging over its chief Arvind Kejriwal's functioning. Hours before the meet, Kejriwal decided to step down from the post of party convener. A dejected Kejriwal also skipped the meeting a day after he expressed his disappointment over the voices of dissent. However, his resignation was not accepted by the party leaders.
अरविंद जी का इस्तीफा जो है वो राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी ने तब भी एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया था, और जो राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी का फैसला था उस पर अरविंद जी की राय स्पष्ट नहीं थी कि वो राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी ने जो फैसला किया है उसको वो स्वीकार कर रहे हैं या स्वीकार नहीं कर रहे हैं।
आम आदमी पार्टी की राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी ने सर्वसम्मति से हाथ उठा के कहा था कि हम अरविंद केजरीवाल का इस्तीफा नामंजूर करते हैं।
However, there are question marks over the fate of its two leaders, Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav. They could face action for dissidence after being openly critical of the Delhi Chief Minister. War of words and letters in the last few days exposed the ugly spat within the party over the leadership issue.
अपनी तरफ से वायदा करना चाहता हूं कि ना तोड़ेंगे, ना छोड़ेंगे, सुधरेंगे और सुधारेंगे।
रिफ्ट नहीं हो सकता है इस पार्टी में। हम सभी साथी थे, साथी हैं और साथी रहेंगे। ये जरूर है कि हम सभी को अपनी अपनी जिम्मेदारियां लेनी पड़ेंगी, और ऐसी जिम्मेदारी लेंगे जिससे पार्टी के लिए हम उचित अपना सहयोग दे सकें, पार्टी के लिए अपना उचित तरीके से अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन दे सकें।
This isn't the first time that the party is facing such a crisis. Before the Delhi Assembly polls, there were voices of dissidence over Kejriwal's leadership style. Leaders like Shazia Ilmi quit the party, citing lack of democracy within the party as a reason. It remains to be seen if the party manages to calm the dissidents soon. With inputs from Bipin Chauhan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, in a surprise move, the Reserve Bank of India today slashed the repo rate by 25 basis points. The move has cheered markets in India Inc. Softening inflation and the fiscal consolidation route carved out the union budget is believed to have prompted the RBI governor to slash the rates. This is the second out-of-turn 25 basis point cut after an earlier one we saw in January. However, this is the first time that the RBI announced a monetary policy ahead of markets opening.
A holy gift from the RBI governor. EMIs may come down soon as the Reserve Bank of India announced a cut in repo rate by 25 basis points, bringing it down to 7.5% from 7.75%. The rate cut sets the tone for a reduction in lending rates by banks, prodding them to drop interest rates on home and car loans.
So when you assess the public finances, you have to look at it from the point of view of the government as a whole. And there, given that states have been, and this is something that the RBI mentions, that the states have been prudent in managing their finances, what the transfer implies also is that all the fiscal deficit, revenue deficit numbers will actually look better than just by looking at the central government finances alone.
The government has welcomed the RBI's move, calling it a booster shot for the economy. The move is expected to augur well for the industry and home loan borrowers. The government also assuaged apprehensions that the cut would pose inflationary risks.
Everybody is looking for a near-term boost to the economy, and I think with the rate cut coming as it does right now, does provide that near-term boost to the economy as well.
We have now, in fact, codified our shared concern about inflation, our shared assessment in this monetary policy framework agreement that the government and the RBI have signed. It's merely, continuing what has been the practice in the last few months and very much consistent with the Urjit Patel Committee report.
The central bank's move also cheered the markets significantly. The Sensex rallied by 434 points to reach the 30,000 mark intraday before slipping into the red.
Our economy is going to grow, and the GDP growth target which was set in the economic survey and the budget looks to me like achievable.
The RBI had first lowered interest rates this year on January 15th in a similar unexpected move. Both rate cuts took place outside of the central bank's scheduled policy review meetings. The next bi-monthly policy statement will be issued on 7th April 2015. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you more updates from across the country and nationwide. The Delhi High Court today partly allowed the plea of Uber cab rape accused Shiv Kumar Yadav to recall some of the prosecution witnesses for further cross-examination. Yadav had challenged the court's order, saying he was not given a fair opportunity to defend himself. The driver had allegedly raped a woman executive in December last year. In a jolt to the BJP-PDP coalition government in Jammu and Kashmir, People's Conference leader Sajjad Lone refused to take charge of his Science and Technology and Animal Husbandry Ministry. A BJP ally, Lone is said to be unhappy for being given what he called an insignificant ministry. He is likely to resign if he does not get ministries according to his preference. The Bombay High Court today dismissed the plea of former Maharashtra Chief Minister Ashok Chavan to drop his name from the Adarsh scam. Chavan had filed a petition seeking to call and recall an earlier ruling wherein the High Court had rejected the CBI's application seeking the dropping of Chavan's name from the list of accused. Chavan now faces a prosecution under the Prevention of Corruption Act for allegedly misusing his official position. And still ahead, we've got international news. At least 30 people were killed in a mine blast in the volatile eastern Ukraine region.
Hello and a warm welcome to this special edition of To The Point. Joining me now is a veteran Congress leader and the Chief Minister of Assam, Mr. Tarun Gogoi. The way the BJP is making inroads, along with the support of the RSS cadres, they are playing the Hindu card and gaining foothold in the rural bastions.
I am definitely worried because they are playing the Hindu cards.
Why is he perceived as a reluctant prince of Congress who doesn't
No,
want to?
these are media perception.
So you already said that everything is on paper. There are no delivery of promises made by the central government.
Socially they are very nice, but I want some in practice in the ground reality.
Watch To The Point with Assam Chief Minister Tarun Gogoi, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back to international news now. In Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned the United States against accepting a nuclear deal with Iran. In a much anticipated speech to the US Congress, Netanyahu likened Tehran to the Islamic State. He claimed that the ongoing talks about Iran's nuclear program will only guarantee that Tehran gets lots of nuclear weapons.
A day after US President Barack Obama expressed his differences over Israel's stand on the Iran nuclear deal, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu threw a direct challenge to the White House. Standing before the US Congress on Tuesday, Netanyahu bluntly warned the US against an emerging nuclear agreement with Iran.
This deal has two major concessions. One, leaving Iran with a vast nuclear program. And two, lifting the restrictions on that program in about a decade. That's why this deal is so bad. It doesn't block Iran's path to the bomb, it paves Iran's path to the bomb.
In his dramatic address, mostly punctuated by standing ovations, Netanyahu even likened Iran to the Islamic State terror group.
the battle between Iran and ISIS doesn't turn Iran into a friend of America. Iran and ISIS are competing for the crown of militant Islam. One calls itself the Islamic Republic, the other calls itself the Islamic State. Both want to impose a militant Islamic empire, first on the region and then on the entire world.
Netanyahu's speech drew a rebuke from President Barack Obama, who pushed back sternly, saying the Israeli Prime Minister was offering no useful alternative.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has not offered any kind of viable alternative that would achieve the same verifiable mechanism to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon.
House Democrats also dismissed Netanyahu's speech as political theatre.
First, I'd like to congratulate Speaker Boehner and Prime Minister Netanyahu on a very impressive bit of political theater.
Meanwhile, negotiations between world powers on Iran's nuclear program are underway in Switzerland. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif and US Secretary of State John Kerry sat down for a second day of meetings on Tuesday, seeking to reach an agreement that curtails Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now more international stories and updates in Global Buzz. A blast at a coal mine in Ukraine has killed at least 30 people. 40 more are still missing after the incident. Emergency services have been rushed to the area. Ukraine's officials are yet to ascertain the cause for the coal mine blast. Incidentally, the blast took place in the sensitive border area in the east of the country. Former National Security Advisor in the US, contractor Edward Snowden's lawyer has said that he is ready to return back to the US if he gets a fair trial. Snowden's lawyer said they are doing everything possible to make it happen. Snowden has taken asylum in Russia since he leaked thousands of classified documents to the media over unethical snooping by the NSA. A Turkish Airlines plane crashed today in Nepal's Kathmandu after overshooting the runway. The plane crashed as it tried to land in dense fog. Flight officials said that the runway was slippery after 2 days of incessant rains. All 240 people on board, though, escaped unhurt. They were safely evacuated through the emergency door. The Australian High Court has ruled against a prank call made by a radio station which turned fatal. The court overturned an earlier judgment saying the radio station broke the law by making a call which resulted in a nurse committing suicide. The call was made to a UK hospital treating the Duchess of Cambridge. The radio station could now be fined or see its license suspended or revoked. Alright, let's get you some action from the ICC World Cup. Pakistan kept up its push for a place in the quarterfinals of the World Cup with a 129-run victory over the UAE in Napier today. Ahmed Shahzad hit 93 and both Haris Sohail and captain Misbah-ul-Haq weighed in with half centuries as Pakistan ran up to 339 for 6 wickets in 50 overs. UAE were reduced to 25 for 3 early in their reply, and though in-form Shaiman Anwar made 62, they eventually fell well short of 210 for 8. This was the second win for Pakistan, and they now join Ireland and West Indies on their 4 points in the congested Pool B, while UAE have lost all their 4 matches. Ireland meet Pakistan on the 15th of March, the final day of the group stage, in a match that's looking increasingly likely to decide the qualification for the last 8.
Got him, dragged it on. They made the first.
That's it for the moment. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV.